Believe it or not, but you're looking at Splatoon Raiders, or at least an early version of it, basically a prototype. Back when they're considering making it a tower defense game or a base defense game, where you would set up traps like the turret there all around the play area, and it would automatically take down the salmonids for you, where you could then go collect the eggs. And Nintendo decided that it didn't feel very Splatoon-like, so they changed it entirely to what we have now in the game, where it's a little bit more action-focused and less passive-based. And I find that interesting, though I do think this would have been an interesting idea to explore for a game too. I think it actually looks pretty cool. In any case, that's not what we got. We got a different version in the end, and we know this because of a new Ask the Developer interview that just came out with the developers of the game that goes into some interesting behind-the-scenes tidbits of how the game came to be. Now, we won't cover everything here as there is a lot across a 3-part journey, but I do want to cover some of the highlights that stood out to me, and I'll link to the full thing in the description below as well. So, first off, one thing that scared me actually is how some of the developers for this game were teenagers when the first game came out. I was a full-grown adult when that happened, and we have teens from that time working on this game, so that's both exciting and also makes me feel extremely old. Next is the fact that for the first time ever, Splatoon will have actual difficulty levels, so you can choose between, I think, 1 of 3, they said. And on top of that, too, it sounds like there's going to be a pretty challenging late-game addition in this game, or basically a late-game dungeon, which they suggest is basically endless. So that could be a test to just see how far you can survive, or how long you can survive for, which will unlock at some point in the game. They don't say exactly when, but I'm assuming closer to the end of the game rather than, earlier on. Interestingly, too, is, not only did the gameplay change for the game, but so did the setting as well a little bit. Almost to the point where it was too late to reverse course, but they did something interesting, which I'll show you here if I can get to the second page here, because initially, the setting was going to be like a lot more tropical and happy. Like, look at this like really nice looking water park that was originally in development, where the salmonids would be, would be living. And Nintendo found that it almost made you feel like the characters made them feel like really bad people going into this paradise where salmonid families are just enjoying themselves before they get destroyed by the Inklings. So they changed it where now it looks like a rundown water park, like well, real quick. So they had already locked in these assets, and when they realized that the direction wasn't working, they couldn't undo the assets. They were already made, so what they did instead was they updated the assets to look run down, and like the water park's no longer, being run, and it looks like it hasn't been used, in years, and the water slide's like, in pieces now, in fragments. And I thought that was a really interesting and creative reuse of assets they already made to better fit the direction they wanted the game to go in and make your Inklings look a little less terrible by comparison. So, beyond that, to touch on how the music is a little bit different from how it typically is from the Splatoon games, where, in universe, the music is often made by the idols. But now it's actually designed to sound like something that salmonids would enjoy listening to, which I thought was interesting. And then they also touch on the creation of the pixel art for the retro minigames in the game, and how they had to convey to the younger developers what a CRT TV would actually look like, because that's a style of game they were emulating. And yeah, that's most of the main things that stood out to me, everyone. There is, again, a lot more in this, so I would recommend reading it for yourself. I'll link to it in the description below. But the key thing for me was finding out, how they updated the game visually, but also how it started off entirely different as a base defense game, which, again, I kind of wish we saw, but I also like what we're getting in the final version too. But, maybe we'll see that in the future. Oh, there's one more point. They basically confirmed, they all but confirmed that Splatoon 4 is definitely coming. Let me show you the exact quote here, where they straight up said, oh, hold on, that's, if I can type right, you're going to see that they say, that said, we will continue to develop a competitive gameplay going forward. That's why we developed the game as a spin-off and not as Splatoon 4. So they're basically saying, don't worry, Splatoon 4 is definitely coming down the pike. Or down the water slide, down the destroyed water slide. So there you have it, everyone. Check out the full interview, link in the description below. Really good stuff. And with that, thanks for watching. I'll catch you later. Stay tuned for our full stream of the game coming up tomorrow as well. Bye, everyone.